Episode 38 of the Loose and Groovy Baseball Show, postseason edition. And this week, Kev is back on the show, going to be giving us his 100% accurate postseason predictions. Going to school me and Parker here today. But yeah, welcome back, Kev. Happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. I feel like you were just like you threw it out to Parker yesterday. I was like, oh, you were just like, yeah, I'm gonna have Kev on the show. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
it kind of worked out best schedule wise because you obviously just have the day in between and then the playoffs start. And I wanted to get it out before then, obviously. So um,
right.
our schedules kind of lined up for that to work out perfectly. And don't worry, any Parker fans, we do have his picks here with us, which is going to come and play later. But yeah, pretty much we're going to be doing like a little mini game here with our postseason predictions. So we're going to go down the bracket, pick all the teams, but we did create a little point system so we could keep track of who actually has the best prediction. So what we decided to do is you're going to get a point value if you picked the correct winner for like each stage of the bracket. So if you pick the wild card team correctly, or two of the wild card teams, three, whatever, you get a point. Division series picks, you get 3 points. Championship series picks, you get 5 points. And if you pick the World Series winner, you get 10 points. There's also a bonus point in the wild card series for the amount of games it takes for that series to wrap up. You get 1 point for there, and then we upped it to 2 points for every other series in the postseason. So should be interesting to see how that plays out. Me and Parker did our postseason predictions. I think, yeah, we did do those last year, but we didn't do any point system, so I'm excited that we're kind of adding that this year. Yeah, I think I'm ready to get right into it. Do you want to kick us off? You want me to start?
I can kick us off. Where do you want? What game? What matchup
Let's
to start with?
let's do the American League first. We'll start with just doing the American League and do all of those series, then we'll do the National League. So yeah, let's go top to bottom. You can start in Cleveland for that wild card series.
Okay, all right. So I do wish Tiger was here. Or Tiger. I wish Parker was here to talk about the Tigers. I like. It's really easy to hate on the Tigers right now, I think, because of just the way that the end of their season kind of shaped up. However, that's like kind of half the reason I have them going over the Guardians here.
Hmm.
Skubal, his last two starts against the Guardians, they actually ended up losing. But I mean, I feel like to me that means he's due to go out and just embarrass them, kind of. And Guardians kind of have the Tigers number for some reason, but I still think if you're looking at the two teams, like I feel like over time, you got to see those balance out. Guardians took
Yeah.
them down in the postseason, regular season, but I truly do think the Tigers are a better team front to end. And so I think like going into this postseason, I think the Tigers know that. I think the Guardians know that a little bit. And so I think that this is the series the Tigers start to, okay, this is what it actually should be like, and we got to balance out what it's been like. So I have Tigers going in three. I have Scooble winning his game, and then I don't know what the Tigers are doing after that, but I just what I wrote my reasoning for this one was Scooble Show plus a fired up Tigers offense that is probably pretty sick and tired of losing these games.
True.
So get them a day off. I they didn't play a terrible series against the Red Sox. Red Sox are they're playing well right now. So
Yeah.
um at nothing like where they're not producing at all. Um and it's kind of funny because last year like they were playing with house money last year. This year, end of the season, everyone's like, Tigers, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like the opposite, but it's almost kind of back to the house money thing where like they ended the season so poorly that it's at this point, I think everyone's kind of expecting them to just get booted round one. Like, oh, you just barely made it in. So at this point, like, I do feel like some of that expectation has already gotten off of them, where it's like they're not coming in as the two
Yeah.
seed like they probably should have been. So now they just got to go and go play some ball. Um, and that's something the Tigers can do. So I think I got Tigers three for this one.
It's a valid argument. I definitely thought about all the things you thought about there. I went with Cleveland, however. I have Cleveland sweeping actually. Um, the Scooble games, I think you made an interesting point about the past two starts against Cleveland. The Tigers have lost those starts. The amount of times the Guardians have seen Scooble is pretty a lot now. Thinking about last season, last postseason, and now this season, and then I get to see him again in Cleveland. Um, I and I'm I I would totally not be surprised if Scooble does his thing and has a really good start. but there is something with the team and players seeing a pitcher so many times. You pick up on tendencies, you pick up on his pitches, you can actually see what's kind of happening with each of these pitches that are all really good. So I think that'll come into play. Cleveland was 8-5 against Detroit this year, so pretty even, but obviously towards the end of the season, they obviously had their numbers, so you're kind of riding off of that. Um, the Guardians overall obviously have been playing better than the Tigers. It's literally two polar opposites. The Guardians have been the hottest team in baseball. Tigers have been one of the worst. Um, the strength with the Guardians is the pitching and the bullpen, especially the pitching in the second half in August and September. It's been really good. All five guys that they have going have been really great. Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams, Slade Cecconi, Parker Messick is like the worst of that bunch. He's got like a mid 3 ERA in that time. A lot of good options, and they still have a lot of good options outside the bullpen too. So thinking about all of that, it was really tempting to go with what you were saying about like having the roles flipped, and you're kind of in the same point where nobody's expecting them to do anything. And again, it's the playoffs. You don't really care about what happened last week or even a couple days ago, right? It's a clean slate. Everybody's on the same playing field. But with how Cleveland's been playing, the vibes that they have going on, all three games being in Cleveland, I couldn't go against them with what they're doing right now. And I think as it stands right now, they are the better team than Detroit is, just with how they have been playing. So I did take Cleveland in two games. And then Parker takes the Tigers in three. So you guys are aligned on that one. Not too surprised Parker ended up going with the Tigers there, but I'd be curious to see what he says if it's something similar to what you had.
Yeah, I what I will say too, I think if it was like the DS or even like they're in the championship series for some reason, I think you were saying with the pitching depth, like Guardians have a much bigger edge
Yeah.
because of the wild card's only three and it's a little bit more volatile. Like, yes, the pitching obviously is always going to matter, but in a three-game series, Tigers can maybe just squeak by without like that being as much of a factor. Because certainly once you get to your 3, 4 guys, Guardians have the edge over the Tigers by a long shot. But yeah,
So that'll be a very exciting series. It kind of sucks because all the games are on at 1 o'clock Eastern in the afternoon, which feels weird that they did the same time slot like 3 days in a row for that series, but it is what it is.
yeah,
All right, staying in the American League, moving down the wild card side, we have Boston Red Sox versus the New York Yankees. Probably one of the more exciting series in the wild card, just with the rivalry in itself. I'll start us off here. I have Boston winning in three. This one I could hear an argument either side. I was really, really, really wanting to pick New York, but I couldn't get myself to do it. Boston went 9-4 against New York this year, so they really have had their number. But the Yankees are also coming in as one of the best teams in September. They went 18-7. I think they won eight in a row to finish the season, while they were fighting for that number one seed with Toronto. And that's what makes it so hard is I feel like they really shouldn't be here where they're playing a really tough wild card matchup against a divisional rival, and there's a very good chance they're eliminated. They don't, to me, it doesn't seem right that that's what it might happen to the Yankees, but that's what I think is going to happen. Um, the biggest thing I think that I got caught up on is how bad the Yankees bullpen has been. They, even with their additions at the deadline, there's not a lot of reliable arms in there. The biggest one is David Bednar, who's been good, but Luke Weaver has been really bad. And I know he's been good in the postseason, so he could just flip it, and then he'll be like last year, Luke Weaver. Um, but there's not many options that I'm like grabbing onto and saying, I know you can get me big outs in a postseason in Fenway Park in this series.
right,
Even I think the pitching matchup, the Yankees do have the edge in. The Yankees, they can get to Crochet. I don't really have any worries about that. And then Fried and Rodon are really good options for game one and game two. Um, this one was really like kind of a coin flip for me. I again could hear any side. I ended up going with Boston. I think majority of the reason because of Fenway Park. I think that's huge. I think the rivalry is huge, and I think I leaned a lot on how Boston has played against New York this year. Um, and just, I was talking to Parker earlier about this. I was like, if Judge beats whatever stereotype you have about him in the postseason and hits like he is, which is the best hitter in the MLB, this could very easily flip into New York's favor and they could take this series. So
yeah.
I went with Boston, but I really don't feel confident in that pick at all. So
I'll echo a lot of the things that you said. I also have Boston in three. Wow. I also have
nice.
Boston in three. Um, and very similar thing. Like I think honestly, out of all of the wild card matchups, this was the one I think I had the most difficulty picking because it does seem like it could really go either way. Yeah, I mean, Fried Rodon, that pitching on Yankees is good. I didn't even think about the bullpen, honestly. But like to your point, that's tough. Especially if, you talk about Yankees getting to Crochet, certainly possible, but then, Red Sox getting to Fried or Rodon. Where do you go from there?
Yeah,
So I think, and I Crochet not going 5 2/3 isn't even like he could still go out and just kind of dismantle him. So I think again, divisional matchup at Fenway, that's not where you want to be if you're the
that's tough.
Yankees.
Yeah.
You're talking about like lack of a bullpen guy in the Yankees. That's like, okay, who can go get me reliable outs?
I
Um,
think,
no-
real quick, I think the Yankees bullpen ERA, either in the second half or in September, has been fifth worst by ERA. Just to provide a little more context for where.
yeah. So, and then, so it's funny that you mentioned that because you take that and then you look at Aroldis Chapman pitching to a 1.17 ERA at Fenway. Like
Yeah,
you're looking at like out of pretty much the entire league, who is the bullpen guy that you want to go get 3 outs to close out a game? It's Chapman.
it's
Um, and that that has to be that's like one of the biggest X factors I think for the Red Sox this entire postseason is Chapman.
yeah.
Um, and Yankees finished well, which is great. You look throughout the year, you see some cracks in the defense, you see a little bit of that, again, kind of a contrast to the Red Sox, who they're a young team, they're quick on the bases, they get on base and they keep pushing. So I think like something to watch definitely is defense and base running
Mm,
around across the entire series,
yeah.
which Red Sox have the edge in. And if the Yankees can go hit like the Yankees can hit, it's not going to matter. But
That's the
you're
problem is that they're
seeing,
gonna do that.
yeah, if you're seeing solid pitching performances and there's nothing more than walks and singles, you're taking the Red Sox
Yeah,
like to turn those into actual runs.
yeah.
So, and again, it being at Fenway is a great point. I know we joke because we play in MLB The Show, but playing against the Red Sox outfield at Fenway is just not fun. You
No,
have Rayu, you have Rafaela, you have Duran out there,
yeah.
versus you got Judge, Grisham, and then Bellinger is out there.
Ideally, that's probably what it is. It's
Yeah,
Grisham center, Judge and right, Belly and left, or
right. Which isn't a bad outfield, but you're looking at three of the best outfielders in the league playing at their home stadium. That's a huge edge also. So,
yeah.
um, divisional matchup, you need every bit you can get, and I think a lot of those smaller little factors that are going to give teams edge, I think, kind of go with the Red Sox in this series. So, but again, like you're saying, if the Yankees go out and play Bronx Bombers baseball, then a lot of what we're talking about kind of isn't going to matter. So I think it's really just how much the Yankees going to show up with the bats.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. I think another X factor for me on the Yankee side of thing is Cam Schlittler. He's the rookie pitcher. Excellent start to end the season in Baltimore. He went 7 innings, 9 strikeouts. I think it's still unclear who's going to be the three for New York, if it's going to be Luis Hill or Will Warren or now Schlittler, or if Schlittler's going to come out of the bullpen. But he's an option that they can kind of play around with, and I think might actually be pretty crucial if they do get to that game three, or if he is coming out of the bullpen that needs a lot of help, like we talked about. All right, and then Parker's pick. Parker had the Yankees winning in three, so he's gonna side differently than what me and Kev were just talking about. Okay, moving down the bracket to our divisional series, I will let you get started with the Mariners versus the Tigers.
Okay. Um, so I will say for the ALDS, I don't for both matchups, I like am pretty set in stone on who's gonna exit that, I guess. So
Okay.
for Tigers, I don't think it matters who wins Tigers Guardians. I think the Mariners are beating them, is
Yeah,
what I'll say.
yeah.
Like, I have Mariners in four. I just
The division series is a best of five.
5 games. Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm stupid. I'm sorry.
So yeah, I have Mariners in four. I don't know. I mean, the Mariners, like when I was last on, we were talking with Parker. This was post deadline. Mariners going and grabbing bats, and Parker's like, I think they take, the AL by storm. And like for a while, we were like, what is bro talking about? Like they kind of just stayed quiet.
Yeah.
Now they're the two seed. Like, I mean, if that like you have seen exactly what they wanted to happen over the last month and a half. The bats are getting going. The pitching's been great. Bullpen's been solid. And I think you're looking at a team that not only are they playing good in this moment, but like they have those pieces there. It's not just, a couple of decent guys that are like playing hot right now. It's guys that you expect this from them and they are playing at their level that they should. So
Yep.
I just feel like it's going to be a tough spot for the Tigers or the Guardians to go and try to knock that down. You get a little, again, I have the Tigers going through 5 game series. School gets 1 game, and then what happens? It's not like their bullpen is amazing. So even if, especially if you have the Mariners get to Scooble,
It's
like
yeah.
there's not a lot of depth to kind of cover them there. Um, so it's I guess in that case, that's again, this is why like the wild card is so tricky because
Yeah.
Tigers could kind of skirt around the Guardians pitching and win, but then if you have the Guardians pitching in the DS, all of a sudden like they then have a little bit more edge than the Tigers would have. So it's just like the different game series is kind
Yeah.
of tricky. But again, I think like I don't know. I genuinely think out of all the DS matchups that I have, if I were to place money on one of them, I would take Mariners beating
Over whoever.
Tigers or Guardians. That's one of the safest bets I feel like you can make.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I have the Guardians here, but I wouldn't agree with anything, or I wouldn't disagree with anything you said. I have them sweeping the Guardians. I probably maybe have them sweeping the Tigers too, if that was the case. But I think the Mariners are just a better version of the Guardians in pretty much every facet of the game. Far better offense. Um, I think pitching staff might be the one place you could maybe make an argument, but I still would lean with the Mariners. And then the bullpen, I think the Mariners also do get the advantage here. Um, yeah, Mariners are a super talented team. Parker's been on them for a long time in terms of like recognizing how deep they are, especially offensively. And you're kind of seeing a lot of their facets start to click, and they went on a really good stretch to end the season as well. They were 17-7 in September, which was third in the American League behind New York and Cleveland. Um, but yeah, again, I think what you said about the Tigers could also probably be said about the Guardians, where they might thrive in these kind of 3 game sets where anything can happen. I think the more games you play, though, the more you're going to regress to the mean. And again, 5 is still not that much, but
Yeah.
I think Mariners will prove how good of a team they are in the division series and how much deeper and more talented they are. And I think they're going to be able to walk right over Cleveland or the Tigers, but in my case, it'd be Cleveland. So I have
Yeah.
Mariners in 3, moving on to the championship series. Parker, just a refresher, he did have Tigers winning that and then going up against the Mariners. He has the Mariners in 5. So Tigers putting up a little bit of a contest there, but still the Mariners advancing. So we all have the Mariners there. Next series is going to be the Blue Jays versus whatever team we pick to win the wild card. For me and Kev, it's going to be the Red Sox. I'll let you. Well, you can get us started again.
Okay. This one again, this is tough. I don't think I think to my own discredit here, I don't think I've paid enough attention to the Blue Jays throughout this season. So there's probably some missing points that I'm gonna be missing here. But
Yeah.
I have Red Sox in 4 here.
Oh, okay.
Um, I let's see. Some of it is postseason pedigree, like Red Sox, Yankees, like they know how to operate in a postseason, and I
Yep.
think yeah, it's this is a so I actually almost switched right before we started recording
Okay.
because like the Blue Jays stats are really good. They finished very hot. Um, so again, like I feel like there's part of me that's picking just because it's the Red Sox a little bit, but it is the postseason. The Red Sox have not been playing bad. Like a lot of their stats, you do see the Blue Jays having the edge, most of them, but you know, if it's within striking distance, I mean, it's postseason baseball. I don't know that that always is. That's it's still so hard to be like, oh, well, they've got 10 points better in all these categories. They're for sure
Yeah.
win. Um, I think like for me, looking at the Blue Jays, um, I kind of feel like pitching depth is a big issue for me.
Yes, I think you're
Most
right. I think
yeah,
you're right.
most of the teams that I was looking through on Fangraphs, like Blue Jays are the only team that I've seen with a over 4 ERA in the playoffs that I was looking at. Um, so again, like it's not like if their starters are like okay and they had a solid bullpen behind, fine, but it's that's not really the case. Like it's kind of just
Yeah,
overall.
yeah.
And so again, you're looking
There's no like bona fide ace or like bona fide 1-2 with the Blue Jays.
correct.
I think
Yeah,
it's
there's no like this is the guy, and
yeah,
even in their bullpen,
no,
they don't have a Chapman sitting in their bullpen.
correct.
And so again, like it comes down to the Red Sox playing like the Red Sox ball, like that just aggressive, get on the base pass and start running.
Yep.
Uh, if they do that, like they don't have the pitching depth to keep up with that for a 5 game series, I don't think. Um, and so yeah, so then you think like they've seen Crochet more, so like that helps them a
Yeah,
little
like
bit against Crochet, which is good. Um, let's see who else. Let's see, Bayo is there.
Bayo
Whitlock.
and probably Giolito will be the
Yeah,
other one.
yeah. So again, divisional, right? So they've seen all these guys. But again, I mean, Red Sox. I really kind of feel like if the Red Sox beat the Yankees in any fashion, that is I would imagine that that's a hard Red Sox team to go up against. Um, that being said, Blue Jays, they've got the bats. I mean, they've got a very dense lineup to get through. So you
Yeah.
could make a lot of the same arguments of like, okay, if Crochet goes and gets touched up, got to go to the bullpen, and they've seen all these guys before, and it's a red hot Blue Jays offense. So again, this is something that's really like it's gonna come down to like that postseason energy, I think, of it's whatever team is playing their best baseball and whatever team is just going to keep that momentum going. So I picked the Red Sox. Again, I think them, if they beat the Yankees, that's one of those things where it's like, okay, Blue Jays coming off a week of rest and a red hot Red Sox coming off beating the Yankees. Like
Yes,
that's
that plays a difference for
that's
sure.
the momentum that you want coming into this kind of matchup. So yeah, I have Red Sox in 4. Even that's aggressive. Like you could probably say Red Sox 5. Um, I'm actually, yeah, I'll switch it. I'll just go Red Sox 5.
Okay.
But again, I think that it's going to be that's going to be a good series to watch.
Yeah, I think the fun part about this bracket is it's the AL East bracket. No matter what happens, it's going to be AL East wildcard matchup and then AL East division series bracket, which I think is always fun. Um, I'll fill in some of the holes I think you were talking about. I think where the Blue Jays lack star power, they find depth in their lineup, and you kind of were alluding to that too. Their bullpen's not terrible. It's not great. I think it's pretty on level with the Red Sox. Obviously, Chapman's probably the big difference here, and you've said that. Hoffman's been good finally. He still has a lot of saves in the season, so I like seeing that because the ERA was never really there, but he still is racking up saves, which I think is important. Um, and they do have some arms that are, reliable enough for my liking.
Yeah.
And I think the offense is really where you're going to see the big difference between these two teams. Um, the big one of the big a big factor is Bo Bichette and his health. I haven't heard anything about what his timetable is yet for coming back for the division series. It's great that they have this whole week off for him to rest, and I hope he comes back because if he didn't get hurt, he probably would have led the league in hits. Super high batting average, one of the best bat to ball guys in the American League, in the MLB as a whole. Having him in that lineup would be insanely massive. Even without him, though, there's a lot of guys I like in here. George Springer has turned in like a top five hitting season in the MLB out of nowhere here. Vlad Guerrero, obviously, we all know what he can do. Alejandro Kirk is like a very solid option behind the dish in just in terms of hitting skill, which is great because he's taking that step up from kind of more subpar numbers we're used to seeing. And then Addison Barger and Ernie Clement are guys I really like, just guys that are gonna give you good plate appearances and are not gonna be a guaranteed out, which I think is something you see in a lot of other lineups in the postseason. And I think the Blue Jays are just gonna show their lineup depth a little bit more than the Red Sox. And I think not only can you see that on paper, but you see that in their record that the Blue Jays were just they were the better team this year. And I think that's what it is going to be. I think they are the better team in this series, and I think they're going to prove that they're the better team. So I have Blue Jays in four. Red Sox should put up a good fight, like you were saying. Wouldn't be surprised if the Red Sox take the series either, like you were saying. But I think the Blue Jays, like I said, where they lack star power, they make up for it in depth. The starting rotation is probably the biggest concern with the Blue Jays, but if you can get Gossman, Barrios, and then I guess it's probably Scherzer maybe getting the third game, or I don't even know who else it could be. Uh,
Pass it.
Bassett, yeah. Trey Savage, the rookie. Are they going to put him in the bullpen? I don't know. Bieber even could get a ball in a game too. So I think they have enough options to get by there. And then it'll be interesting to see, after that in the championship series if they make it that far, what they decide to do. But I do have the Blue Jays. Parker, he did pick the Yankees on his side, and then he has the Blue Jays advancing also. So, we're a little bit split there in terms of our group. So that'll be interesting to see. And then finally, we're gonna get to our ALCS. I have Mariners, Blue Jays. I think yes, yes, Mariners, Blue Jays. I'm taking the Mariners here in six. Um, Blue Jays are 4-2 against the Mariners this season. I think the Mariners are just overall the better team, though. Again, this is kind of the example of good team, not good team, bad team, good team, or better team and good team, I think. Um, and yes, the Blue Jays did have a better record than the Mariners did, but the Mariners, post All-Star break and showing that commitment really found their stride. And I think they have so many impact backs to that lineup that it can change the game on a dime. Cal can homer at any moment. Julio can homer at any moment. Randy Rosarina can homer at any moment. Eugenio Suarez can homer. Like, it's just there's so many good bats in that lineup, and it's backed by an excellent pitching staff that it is so hard to find a team more complete on the American League side than the Mariners. And so we've already talked about them in length, and so I won't go any more deeper than that. I have the Mariners in six, moving on to the World Series and representing the American League.
I also have Mariners in six. Similar thing, whether it's, whether you have Blue Jays or Red Sox or Yankees in that spot, you like we're saying, it's a complete team. Even with the Blue Jays offense, like Mariners have no issue keeping up with that, and then they have the pitching behind it. So um I think Mariners in six, again, it's postseason, anything can happen, but
Yeah.
looking at just the Mariners team, I think it's really, really hard to not take them in this situation. So yeah, Mariners six.
Loose and Groovy guys apparently are all on the same page. Parker also has the Mariners representing the American League in seven against the Toronto Blue Jays. So we all ended up on the same road there for the American League. I will let you get us going in the National League. The first series we can talk about is the Reds versus the Dodgers.
Okay, this this for me is maybe one of the okay. I'm not gonna hate on
You
the
can
Reds.
say it. Yeah, it's one of
This
the
is probably the most
fun.
cut and dry two game. Dodgers are just gonna do what needs to get done and just get the Reds out of the playoffs. Like
Yep.
the Reds, they're fine. Good for them on making a postseason. Like that's awesome. Um, I mean, there's just the Dodgers are. I'll talk about the Dodgers as we get deeper.
Hmm.
But a 3 game series, I just don't think that there is any reasonable way, like, for the Reds to get to them. Like it's just I don't think that they have their pitching is good, but it's not untouchable.
The
Uh,
Reds.
the Reds, yeah, the Reds pitching is good, but it's not untouchable. The Dodgers pitching, good. Like if you only need 2 games, like
Yeah,
they
exactly.
don't have a shortage of starting pitchers to go out and give them five
Correct.
good innings.
Correct.
Um, and so I think that it's too quick of a series for the Reds to get anything done here. So Reds, thanks for showing up, but going up against the Dodgers, I mean, what I will say though is that like this is one of those situations where the bracket like actually does people some favors. I feel like this is matchup that makes sense, honestly. Uh,
Yeah.
the Reds just kind of sneaking at the end, like they should have to prove themselves against the Dodgers if they want to get further in the postseason. So I have Dodgers in two here.
I have no notes. My only thing I wrote down was thanks for coming, Cincinnati. I don't really I feel like I've talked a lot to you and Parker about how much I don't like the Reds. um, and how weak their offense is. And as soon as you get to the bullpen, there's probably two or three good arms you gotta get through or avoid. And then you can kind of go at it. So if the Dodgers even if they force Hunter Green and Andrew Abbott to go 5 or 6, I mean, I'm putting wraps on this series before it's even beginning. But if you really want to go deeper and be like, well, the Reds have good starters, they do, but I trust the Dodgers lineup more, the experienced Dodgers lineup that's been in the postseason before, that's done this before, that's faced good pitching before. I just don't. The Reds don't match up at all to the Dodgers. And the other thing you point out with the Dodgers is the bullpen. Yes, it has been pretty rough and it's pretty weak, and certainly not like how strong it was last year. But the nice thing about the Dodgers is they have a plethora of starting pitching options that they can either start or they can throw in the bullpen. You'll probably see that with Kershaw, Emmett Sheehan, maybe even Ohtani, although it sounds like Ohtani is going to be starting. Glasnow can come out of the bullpen, like all these different things. So, yeah, I have Dodgers in two as well. I don't need to hone in too much more on that. Parker, same thing, Dodgers in two. So, doesn't sound like we're all in agreement on there. Next series in the wild card is going to be Padres and Cubs. I have the Cubs in three. I think this was my toughest series to pick.
Yeah.
Um, I genuinely no idea. Genuinely, I could say whatever I want to say in these next, few minutes about what I think about each of these teams, but I genuinely think this could go either way. It's about as split down the middle as it can be. Um, they are 3-3 when facing each other this year, so even that is like kind of funny that I can't decide, and they split 6 games this year. So I think it's about as dead even as it can be because both of these teams have their strengths and both have their weaknesses. Starting pitching is a weakness of both these teams. Cubs, it's Shota Imanaga, and then it's Jameson Taillon and Colin Ray, and I feel like I'm missing somebody. I know Kate Horn's hurt now, but excuse me. And then the Padres, it's Nick Pivetta, and then Dylan Cease and Yu Darvish, Randy Vasquez, like a
Oh.
bunch of like, yeah, like just super like fine guys and guys that historically are maybe better than they have been this year, but this year they've not been great. Um, Padres 100% have the edge on the bullpen. Their bullpen is elite. But I will say the Cubs have the seventh best bullpen ERA in September. They're kind of doing that thing where they have a bunch of random guys that you don't really hear about, and they have pretty good stats in the bullpen. So I guess in my line of thought, I'd rather have the Cubs offense over the Padres offense. I think the Cubs offense is deeper, and I think in Wrigley Field they're going to perform more than the Padres offense is. And I'm banking on the Cubs bullpen to hang on for me in those late innings, which is scary, but I think I just led with the Cubs here because I like that offense more, and I like that they're playing in Wrigley for all three of these games. So I have the Cubs in three.
Yeah, Wrigley is a great point, honestly. If you haven't been to Wrigley, Wrigley is Wrigley Field, and that does make a difference. I think again, you might correct me if any points I make are just like completely untrue. Um, Cubs offense is still good, like, but it's not beginning of the year Cubs offense. Like to some extent, a little bit of slowing down.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I think when Carson Kelly is one dotting and PCA is having in the MVP conversation, I think you're gonna have regression from that.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but when you're so high up there, the regression isn't too drastic. So
Right.
I agree with you that it is lower now or
But
not
it's still good.
but yes, and it is still probably one of the deeper offenses.
Yes, 100%. I think you're right about like just kind of a little bit of like a battle of mid with the starting pitching of just like okay, like guys that can go out and give a okay outing. Um it is tough because again, like if this was a divisional series, Padres having a deeper bullpen is probably going to help more than it will in a
Yes.
wild card series. Um, so honestly, I agree with you that this could go either way. You made a lot of good points, like almost to the point of me switching. I'll stay with Padres in three just because that's what I picked. Um, I just like the Padres still can go out and hit. Like
Oh yeah,
if, if
absolutely.
you know. if it was Cubs versus anybody else, like yes, that offense all of a sudden like that's the offense. The Padres also, though, they have an offense. They did a good job at the deadline of filling out a little bit of the back end of their order. So, they have depth there as well, and they've built that out. You're absolutely right though about it being in Wrigley. And if it goes my way, Padres in three, they're gonna have a fun time on I-94, just going from Wrigley up
Yeah.
to
North.
Milwaukee. Um, but yeah, I mean, I this will be a good series to watch, genuinely. This is another good one to keep an eye on because of just like they're both exciting teams to watch play baseball. Like they are both just good teams. Lots of lots of names, lots of superstars. You've got PCA, you got Tatis on the other side, you got Machado, you got Suzuki, you have Tucker. You can kind of keep bouncing back and forth. These are teams with a lot of names and a lot of um some vets and also just some young guys that have been doing well. So I think honestly, you're right. Goes either way. I have Padres in three, which I would feel probably better as a pick if they were out at Petco instead of
Yeah. That's
Wrigley. But again, it's not unheard of to go and stun someone at home. It's happened plenty of times. So um again, I think name of the game is just keep putting the pressure on the Cubs pitching. And
get
yeah, don't let Shota go do his thing.
yeah.
And just make him pitch because it's both, and that's for the Cubs too, honestly. Like just
Yeah.
keep hitting that, just keep swinging. Like this is gonna be, I think, for sure an offensive series here.
It could be. And I will say, if the Padres didn't get Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano at the deadline, I would be much more confident in my pick of the Cubs because
Yeah,
those two pieces I think have proved to be huge for the Padres and kind of getting rid of the stigma of having your top three hitters and then nobody else in that lineup.
yeah.
So yeah, I echo everything you say. It'll be a fun one. It'll be very close, I think, and it will go either way. Parker has the Padres in three, so he's going to be aligned with you on that one. Okay, so now we're getting on to the divisional series. First up, we're gonna have Dodgers versus Philly. Wait, am I missing something? No, yeah,
Mm,
Dodgers Phillies.
yep.
Because yes, we both picked the Dodgers. So I will give it to you first if you want to give us your pick.
Yeah. So I mentioned I would probably talk about the Dodgers a little bit more in this series, and you kind of alluded to it earlier, but 5 game series, I think this is where you start seeing some of the Dodgers cracks to show out. Like we've talked about, a weaker bullpen doesn't really matter in a 3 game series against the Reds, but against a team like the Phillies, it matters. Like you want a solid bullpen behind your starters. And I don't think the Dodgers are where they would want to be for this. Like I don't think that especially looking again comparing to last season, like that bullpen was kind of nails. Like we were watching those games against the Yankees, and it was like, okay, bring them out, bring out Trinan, bring out like they just it felt like you got into the 6th inning and it was really hard to do anything from that point forward. That's not the Dodgers this year. So, you're putting a solid Dodgers offense against a solid Phillies offense. Um, you're at Citizens Bank. No one wants to play at Citizens Bank. You've got rested Phillies, first of all. You got rested Phillies as well. Not that the Dodgers are probably going to be like crazy spent after the Reds, but a rested Phillies helps. And I think, yeah, I mean, I think in terms of dependability, I mean, the Phillies are the favorites to win the World Series, I believe, betting odds wise.
Um,
Or no, maybe not.
I think you're right. I read
We were
him
talking
up,
about it the other day. Maybe
and
they're
I can't
two.
remember who it was now. It's oh my gosh, I want
I
to say they're one
I
or
know power rankings. MLB just released their power rankings. They're number one today,
okay, okay.
as MLB says.
So
I
they
don't know if Vegas
probably
agrees with that, but power rankings, they are the favorites. So, um, yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a good series. I have Phillies in five. I think it's a good series to watch. That's an exciting series. Um, but I mean, just looking at the way that the Phillies wrapped up the season, a good deadline. Schwarber's being Schwarber. You have Harper in there. You've got a solid outfield. You have a lot of like, Trey Turner, he's out rest of the season.
Is he?
I don't know. Is he
Oh,
back?
I'll check.
Um, but even regardless, the point I was gonna make is that um they have a lot of like glue guys, I feel like the Phillies do, of guys that can play a couple different pieces on the field and are still a good bat, when you need them to go play. So I think that that is huge to have a lot of guys that are like in that kind of glue spot, but have had a good season, and are no stranger to producing when they need to produce. So I had the Phillies in five. Again, if the Dodgers offense gets hot, sure. But it's not like the Dodgers have had like an like off the books kind of offensive year. So when you put that together against the Phillies offense, which is solid, and then the lack of a really dependable bullpen, I think you give the edge to the Phillies here.
Trey Turner is healthy. He came back actually at the end of the regular season, and that helped them capture the batting title in the National League too. So he's good,
Hmm.
which is huge for them.
Yes.
Um, I picked the Dodgers in five.
Hmm.
I think the Dodgers are inevitable, unfortunately, and not entirely, as you'll see later. But um, I think they're gonna smash the Reds. Or like I'm looking for a term, but I think they're gonna crush the Reds and stomp into Philly and get the job done. Um, this one is another coin flip for me where it's so hard to pick between these two teams, in my opinion, because I think you can talk about the Dodgers bullpen struggles, but I think you also should be talking about, or not you specifically, but I'm saying in general, talking about Phillies bullpen struggles. The Phillies bullpen is not great. It's good, but it's not like amazing, right? And so just seeing what the Dodgers did last year and how Dave Roberts managed the bullpen. I know he's working with a lot more and a lot more talent at the time last year, but how deep their starting pitching is, and I'm kind of saying what I said earlier, but I trust him more to kind of mix and match with what he needs to do,
Yeah.
and I continue to trust and lean on the veteran presence of the Dodgers lineup, which you could say the same exact thing for the Phillies, but there's games in the playoffs where the Phillies go dead quiet with the bats.
Mhm.
I've seen it like 2 years in a row now where the Phillies come up short in the postseason and the bats you need to be hitting are not hitting. And
Mhm.
I can't get that out of my head for whatever reason. I don't have any numbers to back that up. That's just like a feel thing. Like the Phillies can go quiet at the flip of a switch. And the Dodgers, I trust a little bit more not to do that. Coming off probably a sweep against the Reds. I think I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the Dodgers. Again, it's super, super close. The Phillies are still a very, very talented team. And you could even make the argument the Phillies might have the edge in the starting rotation because they have so many good arms. And so do the Dodgers too. Like it's so even.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna lean towards the Dodgers here, and I don't know. I'm still a lot like not very confident in that, but I guess we'll see how it ends up. Parker had so he'd also had Dodgers, Phillies, obviously, and he picked the Phillies here too. Picked the Phillies in 5 games, it looks like. So you guys are aligned on that one.
Hmm.
All right, heading down to the next one. It is Brewers. I have Brewers Cubs. You're gonna have Brewers Padres.
Yep.
I'll get started here, then I'll kind of let you go on what you think with the Brewers here. Um, Kevin, resident Brewers fan of Loose and Groovy Baseball.
Hey. Yep.
But I have the Brewers in four here. I think another case of better team and good team. I think the Brewers are the better team than the Cubs. They went 7-6 versus, or the Cubs went 7-6 versus the Brewers this year, so it's actually pretty even down the middle, obviously. But the Brewers are just such, I think, a way deeper team than the Cubs are. Offense, I think they're pretty almost even. Just looking at the numbers, I know the names might not pop out for the Brewers as much as the Cubs do, but the numbers I think are there to back it up, where they can definitely go toe to toe with the Cubs. But then they really start stretching the gap with the rotation and the bullpen. I
Yep.
think it is miles better than the Cubs. And at this point, we're in division series, so best of five, kind of like what you've been talking about. I think that favors the Brewers much more than it does the Cubs. So I like the Brewers a lot. I could go on about that starting rotation. I really like it in the postseason. It's probably going to be what Peralta, and then Priester will be in there at some point, and then maybe is it going to be Quintana
Quintana,
or
I think, is right now what people are thinking, and that'll depend how far they get. Woodruff was 15-day IL, so
okay,
depending on that recovery, like timetable is, so he could be, if I had to guess, probably not back for divisional series, but if we get championship series, there is a chance Woodruff is back for that.
okay.
Um, which is a little bit my X factor. I keep using the term X factor. I didn't give that to every team,
Oh,
but
but yeah,
Woodruff, that's something to keep your eye on, I think, as the Brewers go, because it's not like they don't have depth starting pitching, but if you put Woodruff in there, all of a sudden that like the starting pitching just gets boosted even more.
yes,
Um, but to your point, I'm saying this myself as well as people that are looking at the Brewers right now. I wouldn't be deceived by the lack of a clear starting three here. Like I know it's Peralta one, like you said, Priester's got to be in there, I would think. And it kind of gets fuzzy after that. But that's not, I think that's not because of a lack of good arms. It's more of then you get to the three spot and you have a lot of arms that are right around that like solid three spot caliber. You have Quintana, you have Chad Patrick.
hmm.
I think Miz in the bullpen is the move. I don't think he's coming out to start.
Okay.
Um, so I think even if they wanted to do a game three, DL Hall just got back. DL Hall and Ashby, they did a couple games this season where they would have like Ashby or Miz go throw three and then DL Hall through the next three. So that really excites me. I think if you're a Brewers fan, that has to be exciting. We just got Trevor McGill back. You're looking at a bullpen full of guys that can go do a lot of different things. And so even if you don't have a like for sure this is our three guy, you can even have Tobias Myers go out and throw. Tobias Myers had a great game two in the wild card last year. So there's so many options, and if you want to have a traditional start, you can do that. Or if you want to do a bullpen game at some point, there's plenty of arms, both short arms and guys that can go 3 innings. That gives you so much flexibility, makes it easier to manage a 5 game series, and Pat Murphy's not going to have any issues with that. So sorry, I was going to make a side point, and I kind of up giving up my entire like
That's
reasoning.
okay.
I
I
have
will say really quick, I have Brewers in four. That was my pick.
Yeah,
So I'll let you finish.
I have Brewers in five, and honestly,
And
that
that's
might be
against the Padres.
I
So
have them against
yeah,
Padres. And honestly, kind of to what we were saying against Padres Cubs, they're pretty similar teams. And just the different high points and the different weak points. So I honestly think I agree with pretty much all the arguments you made because I don't think it really matters Cubs Padres in this spot.
yeah.
The same things that give the Brewers edge against the Cubs are the same things that are giving the edge against the Padres here. Um, Again, like you were saying, like depth beginning of the season when I was first on the show, we were talking about, okay, why are the Brewers not going to win the NL Central? And we were talking about offense. And the Brewers kind of shut everybody up,
Mhm.
since the All-Star break. Slower month in September, which some of that, they're not playing everybody every day. They're giving Contreras time off. They're getting Yelich enough rest. It's easy to look at the numbers of September, be a little scared, but also I think you have to keep in mind,
Yeah.
you know, when they clinched, what Pat Murphy's looking at coming into October.
Right.
Um, like this is an offense that has done what it has needed to do to back up the solid pitching that we've had all year. So again, a more full end-to-end team, not as many weak points, not as many things that are as concerning, I would say. You're in Milwaukee. The Milwaukee fans have been pretty electric all year. I don't think American Family Field is necessarily a place that people think about like having like, oh, that's not a place you want to play.
Yeah.
But like if you've just turned on any one of the Brewers games in the last like couple months, it's loud and they are there for the Brewers. So if you have the Padres there, like I have the Padres there, that helps a little bit because you're not in Cubs territory as much.
Right.
But
That's true. I didn't even think
um
about that.
yeah, so but again, I think either way, I think you take the Brewers here. Again, I'm a Brewers fan. It's like there is definitely some hopefulness in that, but I also just think I think that's the pick here, whether you're a Brewers fan or not.
Parker is going to be pretty much in step with you here in this bottom half. He also has the Brewers in five over the Padres. So, all right, NLCS time. I have the Brewers and the Dodgers. I have Brewers in six. Brewers won 6 games against the Dodgers this year. They didn't lose a
Two
single one.
sweeps, baby. Two sweeps.
The Brewers have the Dodgers number for whatever reason it is. Could that change? Absolutely, but I'm gonna lean on that and say that the Dodgers know or the Brewers know how to play against the Dodgers. They can beat them at the game that they play, and I think the Brewers are gonna get it done and go to the World Series. So
Yep. Okay, so again, you'll see. I think in trying to remove Brewers bias, I honestly like am being a little harder on them. So that's why a lot of my like win numbers are a little bit higher. I have Brewers in 7 against the Phillies.
gotcha.
You're kind of right. I actually do think I would maybe prefer the Dodgers in this spot just because they've seen them. Brewers, I think, are probably about split with the Phillies. I think we did sweep them, but then I think they took a series later in the year from
Okay.
us. So it's probably pretty close on that. But I mean, kind of to your point, Phillies bats can go quiet. And again, we're still talking about, like you were talking about, some of the weaknesses in the Phillies lineup. They have a lot of those big names, but the Brewers, they know how to get on base. They know how to get across the plate. Like they have no issue going up and putting up a 4 spot inning just off singles and stolen bases. And so I think again, you look at the depth, the pitching rotation, bullpen, and starting. You might have Woodruff back for this series. Like it just kind of keeps piling on. And I genuinely I'm trying to think. If there's anybody else that's really like injured. Contreras has had a great month of rest, and he was heating up before they said, "All right, let's just give you some rest before the postseason." So I love Contreras coming back and continuing to be a good player because he had a pretty rough start to the season, but started playing more to who he's supposed to play as the year went on. So I love that. Yelich's numbers are exactly really where they should be for a player like him. Like above average, he's not young anymore, but he is a vet and he's showing that.
Yeah.
Churio finished the season well after injury. I mean, all these points I could have made in the Padres series, but I think it's really easy to look at Brewers, Phillies, be like, oh, I know more of the Phillies players. But if you're looking at dependability and production and also kind of a team that at any point can start just like Danny Jansen ripped a 2-run home run
Yeah.
yesterday against the Reds. Like Danny Jansen, not like he's decent, but like that's just the energy can get going. You can see Andrew Montesero rip off a 3-run home run out of nowhere. You can see Isaac Collins like great outfield too. Like that is something to note too. You got Perkins in center, you have Chury out there, you have Frelick. That's great. You have a solid infield. Like defensively is something that we haven't talked much about for most of this,
But
but when you need the Brewers to go out and shut people down, like to some extent, even if the Phillies keep driving balls, like the Brewers know how to play defense. And like, even if their pitchers don't have the best start, like you're seeing, okay, for example, the Reds game. I was watching the Reds game. Um, and that gave me so much confidence as a Brewers fan. Like every single pitcher that they brought in out of the bullpen looked great. Just a good tune-up game. Um, and Reds hit 2 home runs. That was it. They didn't have anybody on base. It was just two solo shots. So if that's the kind of way that they're going to play the Phillies, okay, Schwarber hits 2 home runs, 3 home runs that series. But if they play good defense, it's 1 run for Schwarber. And like I was saying, 2 doubles or a single, a stolen base, and then an RBI, all of a sudden we match that. And I don't think the Brewers have any issue doing that. So I have Brewers 7 here. And yeah, I'm excited. I hope that I'm right on that.
I think it's interesting because if I had the Phillies going here, I would honestly probably pick the Phillies over the Brewers. I think they match up better with the Brewers than the Dodgers do. And Parker would actually be in alignment with me on here. He has the Phillies taking out the Brewers in 6, actually. So
We'll have a conversation about that later.
yeah. All right, Kev, Mariners, Brewers, who's winning the World Series in 2025?
Come
Okay, hold on. For our Spotify listeners.
on, baby, bring it home, Brewers. Let's go. I have Brewers in 7. Um, Again, I made a lot of my points kind of in that last thing. I have a couple of things written down. I'll try not to repeat. Again, depth and stamina. I know like it these are two good teams end to end. So it's really hard to say any of these points and like have them not also apply to the Mariners. But depth, stamina, 7 game series. The Brewers are a team that is no stranger. Like they had like an 18 game streak over the season. Like I don't think that they're a team that you necessarily see the wear and tear as much. So I actually do like them in a longer series a lot. Like I said, that tune-up game against the Reds looked really good. Not as many home runs, plenty of production though. And if we can get to the bullpen for, I know we saw the Mariners before Gilbert, I think kind of shut us down, honestly, when we played him.
Probably.
But, I think that was the first time we'd probably really seen Gilbert. So we've seen a lot of their pitching. And I think that will help a ton. Again, you have Woodruff X factor in there. If Woodruff is back, then you have 3 really good starts out of Peralta, Priester, Woodruff. I mean, that is a very, very hard starting 3 to confidently say like they're gonna take. So assuming like and okay, again, Priester, let's not lose the fact that we have won, I think 19. The last 19 Priester starts has been a win for the Brewers.
Yeah.
Peralta has been great. It's not like I just compared to last year, I remember going into the wild or into the playoffs last year, and it was like, all right, you have Peralta, and even he could get touched up. Like it's so nice to go into a World Series matchup like this and to say, boom, here's 3 guys, not guaranteed, but solid pitchers that can go deep. And then we have a solid bullpen behind that. So again, there is definitely some bias in here. I will be honest. Like I could easily see the Mariners like embarrassing us going 4 games. I'm not saying that that's like my pick is not, the truth, I would say.
Yeah.
But I also think you're looking at a Brewers team who in the last 10 years, 10 years maybe a little long, but like they just set a franchise record for wins. This is the team to do it. And they have no issue getting hot. If they go Padres, Phillies into World Series, that momentum is like that's not something that you want to play against, I don't think. So yeah, we're gonna ride the power of pocket pancakes all the way to the World Series. And we're gonna that's my pick. Again, I if it gets to a Mariners Brewers World Series, I'm gonna be pretty happy regardless. Like that is I think that's a good World Series, and that's 2 teams that I feel like you have seen development and work done. Brewers didn't really do it at the deadline per se, but throughout the season and the off season, filled in holes and developed guys, got good pitchers. Like these are 2 teams that have done what they need to do to fill in holes and to be a good team. And so it would be really nice to see them 2 in the World Series, taking down a lot of the big market teams that just bought a lot. Like these, I just feel like Mariners are like mid-market, right?
Uh, yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it.
Okay. So yeah, so I think like I think that would be a good World Series. And contrasting to Yankees Dodgers last
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
I think seeing a World Series like this with 2 teams that like are good and have earned that, but have also like kind of made some noise to make sure that people see like, hey, this is a team that came to play. But I do have the Brewers in 7.
I have the Mariners in 7. A guy we haven't really talked about is Brian Wu. He will be back hopefully at some point.
Mm,
He's as reliable as a starter as you're going to get. And I lean on the Mariners veteran presence a little bit more, as opposed to the Brewers, where really it's Christian Yelich and that's about it.
yeah.
Um, which is not really like their fault. That's just kind of the reality of it. So
Yep.
I gave the slight edge to the Mariners here, but I would echo everything you said about the series, about the Brewers, what it's going to look like, how it's going to go. But I did just end up siding with the Mariners. And so did Parker. Parker has the Mariners in 7 over the Phillies. So 2 Mariners picks and a Brewers pick, but all pretty overall aligned, I would say, between the
Yeah.
2 of us. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. The episode's going to come out tonight, and so we're starting these series tomorrow. So it'll be really exciting to watch.
October baseball.
Yeah, it's tomorrow October 1st.
No, it's Wednesday.
Okay, so I guess whatever. Eventually it'll
End
be.
of September baseball.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. We'll see how accurate we are with our predictions and how much chalk is actually going to go into this series, or if it's going to be, you know, everywhere and like kind of all over the place with how it ends up going. I wouldn't be surprised, obviously, because it's postseason, but I guess that'll be something we have to wait and see and find out. But to stay in tune with all of our picks and how that's going with the game, and for also daily content now focused on the postseason, be sure to follow us at Loose and Groovy Baseball Show on all social media, Instagram, TikTok, and obviously here on YouTube. If you made it this far and for some reason you want to listen to it or you want somebody else to listen to it, the Spotify link for that will be down below as well. A little bit easier to listen to instead of consuming a full hour of me and Kevin sitting here talking to each other. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this week. Episode 39 will be out in about a week or two, depending on what we decide to do with the postseason. Kev, thank you so much for coming on again. It's always great to have you here, and
Absolutely.
good luck to your Brewers. I hope they make it far. It'll make it fun. So,
Yeah.
signing off for now. We'll see you next time.
I guess.